Welcome to the Dream Journal from the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz. The Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you. A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. Okay, today's music by Rick Kleffel is called Where Memory Ends. Darren Jakubec, MD, has hosted hundreds of patients on ketamine-assisted psychedelic trips and has gone on a few of his own, yet he says that Dreamwork is more profound. Stay tuned to hear more. I'm your host, Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. We are also a weekly podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Let's make that algorithm work in the favor of the dreamers. But most importantly, tell your friends about this podcast. The whole mission of the show is to get folks talking about dreams. And so you can start by telling them about the podcast. Why not? You can also find archives at all of those Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. Today is episode 270. Well, I'm just looking at my notes and start with my personal dream work, and I don't always these days, so sometimes I like to get right to the guest, but I'm chuckling because I had a dream this morning. And I've read recently that sexual dreams are pretty rare, like 10% or less of the dreams are sexual, but I had one last night, and it was quite lovely. So that's all I have to say about that. Dreams can be wonderful, can't they? All right. So, Darren Jakubec, Dr. Jakubec, hello. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Let me introduce you. Darren Jakubec, MD, is trained in family medicine and in anesthesia and lives and practices in northern British Columbia. Darren has been a dream worker for 12 years and practices dream work in his pain clinic, in his ketamine clinic, in the emergency room, and in the hallways and rooms of the hospital where he works. Dr. Jakubec, you're coming to us from the hospital, I believe, right now. Is that true? Or you're on call or some such like that?
That's true. I'm just outside of the operating room right now. I found a little quiet room. It's a pleasure to be here, Katherine. Thank you.
Good. Thanks so much for being on the show. And we're getting, live action. This man is really in the trenches. ER, doctor, anesthetist. How do you say that word? Anesthesiast?
Anesthetist, yes.
Anesthetist. There we go. Got to get the accent on the right syllable. Okay, so I have known Jake for a long time. I have known him, it's probably been 10 years or more at this point, and we met at Dreamwork Retreat in Canada, I do believe, the Hollyhock Retreat Center, and that was just the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship. We have meetings. We meet a couple times, once a month or so, where we talk about dreams. A bunch of dream practitioners and I get together and talk, and Jake is one of our regulars when he's not actually at the hospital, which does happen pretty frequently. You seem to have these graveyard shifts all the time. So how did you get started with Dreamwork? Let's talk a little bit about your history. I know you've been on the show once or twice before, and we do want to get to our topic of psychedelics versus Dreamwork. But why don't you talk a little bit about how you got started, maybe with even the whole idea of the inner journey, the inner exploration?
Sure. That's a big question.
Yeah, answer it any way you like.
Thank you, Katherine.
Yeah.
I knew I had a bit of a troubled childhood and had some issues and stressors and knew I wasn't coping well, and always was looking for routes of exploration. I didn't really have a language around it, just call it generic counseling. And I always had a sense that there's a spiritual nature for things. So I would hop between churches and not find a home as I went on my educational path
Mm-hmm.
and try different therapists and drop in and just talk to different people about stressors in my life. And one day my wife and I were arguing that we should do things to sort ourselves out, and I signed up for a Dreamwork retreat, not quite knowing what that was, but just as a self-exploration thing to say, okay, I'm going to try and sort myself out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was at Hollyhock in Canada, and it blew me away. It was what I would awkwardly call a spiritual awakening, but it all defies words in a way that I found a lot of truth that in a rapid succession that I hadn't found through any other modality. And from that moment on, I'd opened up a whole bunch of different doors through dreams and other healing modalities and self-exploration modalities, and I just kept coming back to dreams. And you use the word inner work, and that's I mean, much of this defies words, but I've roughly settled on the word inner work as my explanation for doing living in this outer world, in this three-dimensional world, which we all must live in, and also living in the inner world and honoring what I would awkwardly call, once again, my soul or my inner journey wishes to speak to me, or the universe, or however this all works, and not to put that aside and deny that part of my path in this world. So yeah, and it became just something that it has enriched my life and helped my marriage and my parenting since kids through the journey was something that, yeah, I want to be a better parent.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to be a better person, and there's nothing like a child looking at you thinking, okay, I have to do better than what I'm doing. So that motivated me to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love how you're so frank about the awkwardness of the language around this, because there's a move away from religion in most Western societies, and certainly in the U.S. and in my friend group, there's not a lot of language to talk about spirituality and soul. And that sort of thing, and yet there's something about the dreams and the inner work that that kind of speaks to that kind of calls that out. There's something that's hard to put into words, really. Something greater than us, perhaps, or yeah. I love the way that you're really upfront about that. Like, this is awkward, but I'm going to call it spiritual, right?
Yeah, thank you. And it is. I think if those people that label it, sometimes it's counterproductive. That you have to, the head demands some sort of thing to grasp onto when you talk of this sort of stuff. And I think the spiritual traditions all speak about it, reasonably well in their own way, and it's all true to many extents, but how do we live it? How do we bring it into the world in a way that is accessible and doesn't scare people off? Like, unfortunately, some religious language does, I would argue, and I think many people agree. But yet not pretend like it's not true, and we're not living another journey or an inner journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's very true. When you talk about the language that that scares people off, and I want to transition to your other main hat. Of course, you have many hats, as we all do in this complicated life. But of being a doctor, and that it would think that would be very far from an inner journey. And that I want to, maybe you could tell me a little bit about your professional journey, like what led you to where you're at now, and then we'll get into how you integrate the inner and the outer.
Sure. Goodness, how to answer. It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle.
Uh-huh.
And I think once one finds one inner truth about themselves, I heard a quote one time that said, when one finds something out about themselves that is profoundly true, it feels spiritual.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the best way to say it in a way, because it defies words. It's just truth. Okay, I found some truth that feels incredibly profound and it feels spiritual. And if somebody hasn't really opened this door, the door of which the religious languages I believe all speak of,
Mm-hmm.
they just don't have a language around it. And there's some when a Christian, a really devout Christian friend of mine says, when somebody first finds Jesus, sometimes they become a little bit unsufferable because everything is Jesus. And then, maybe it takes 6 months or 2 years till it settles down and you realize, okay, I have to live this outer world too. And no matter what your modality is, be it meditation or yoga or sport or traditional religion or psychedelics or dreams, like there's how does I think it's a huge struggle to maintain an outer world existence and an inner world existence
Mm.
and carry them both with integrity and honor, science and mathematics and in the outer world and while acknowledging this inner world. And it's been a huge struggle. I certainly went
Mm-hmm.
through a phase of thinking, well, maybe I have to give up my day job and just become a dream worker. And who knows what's right? But I found perhaps both personally, professionally, and as a human, my calling was to do both.
Mm.
And how do I stay grounded in the world of science and evidence uh, as best I can and practice and live in such a way that I can bring both journeys into the world. And if I have a message or something I can bring to the world, it's perhaps the, to carry both languages is is something that I wish more of us would do. And certainly medicine at its best, it can be a wonderful profession. And as most spiritual or religious people will say, well, if you're not grounded in some centering part of yourself, your health will suffer and your wellness will suffer. And I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you use scientific language? And oftentimes I would argue that psychology is like a door to something that feels spiritual. So using the words of counseling and psychology um, is the best doorway that medicine has. And for a long time, psychiatry and psychology wasn't really honored in medicine until it became legitimized through the practice of psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the language becomes blurry, and one could argue um, and have argued that this is a soft science of medicine. But if we deny this part of ourselves, it leads to illness. So I found that I could make a big difference. And there's the unlikely best-selling book, The Body Keeps the Score, and the Gabor Mate books speak the same sort of language that speak about wellness and health and mental health and wellness and the crossover. And many books have done the same. And I find it absolutely true. And I've found throughout my medical career, the more I'm grounded in the language, I can help give others this language. And amazingly, people will be open to this more than I thought.
Mm.
Um, as long as you don't apologize for it. Say, yep,
Don't apologize.
Speaking of things that if you apologize for it, people are apprehensive and what are you talking about? Or as mentioned, and sometimes spiritual language works. I'm in a part of the world that there's quite a significant, very Christian population, and that language works to them.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of people, it doesn't. And how do we bring people into an inner journey? And dreams are a wonderful modality, as one of my colleagues, Birgit Laskowski, wrote in her master's thesis. It's like this backdoor route into your into your psychology, into your spiritual nature, and you don't even know it's there.
Right.
Until somebody asks about it, until you open this door. So it's this sneaky way of getting in and giving somebody an epiphany in the moment that's available to anybody. So I use them when when possible, that I found if I'm not apprehensive and I'm polite and I'm respectful, people will open this door and you can get them, give them some hope by following an inner journey, whatever that is for them, as well as an outer journey, that a simple pill won't necessarily solve the situation
Mm.
and that they have to do something for their own wellness.
How about an example
Does that make
here?
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense,
Pardon
and it does make sense. And I'd love to hear an example of how you use this. How you combine these two modalities of doctor, ER doctor in particular, and Dreamwork. Like, how do you bring that inner journey to people who are obviously in crisis, or they wouldn't be at the ER?
me? Yeah, goodness, a lot of the examples are quite brutal and traumatic, it seems like. They'll get to the root of the matter, and I can think of a whole bunch of examples right off the top.
Oh,
But examples are
trigger warning.
great.
There we go. But go ahead. There's your trigger
I
warning.
mean, here's one of I saw a person in my pain clinic. She's a woman who I do a pain clinic with a physiotherapist, and everyone has to see the physiotherapy kind of to honor the physical aspect of things. And I almost never prescribe anything. But if I can do injections or give a little bit of steroid or trigger points or prolotherapy and help relieve pain in that way, and some people, the pain makes no sense. They're young, they're healthy, they may or may not have had diagnostic imaging and a CT or an MRI, but she was a young woman with back pain, and we've seen her 3 times in the clinic, looks completely healthy.
Mm.
But this back pain is persistent. And every now and then I'll say, look, we can help with, I often tell people, if I see you more than once, I'm going to be asking what you're doing for inner healing or psychological, spiritual, because pain, there's a wonderful quote that from a California pain specialist that says, pain is an emotion.
Mm.
And it gets confused with nociception, which is the stimulation of a nerve ending, and we confuse the two. So I give people this introduction and say, is there any chance you're stressed or you're holding stress in your back? And every massage therapist or Reiki practitioner or physio will know that the body holds stress. Is there any, are you holding stress? Oftentimes people will deny stress, and I'll say, I'm a doctor that works with dreams sometimes. Do you have any dreams?
Mm.
And I'll say it very lightheartedly. It's like, I'll give you, sure, we'll do these injections. We'll see if they help. And this one person told me a dream, and she said she's bathing her daughter in the bathtub, their, I think, 5 or 6 year old daughter, and her husband comes in and he pees in the bathtub, and then she's just quiet, and myself and the physiotherapist are there, and we don't say anything,
Mm.
and she just pauses. It's like she's heard what she's just said,
Mm.
and it was quote unquote just a dream. People often think it's just a dream,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they reveal the dream or release the dream, it's like you could tell she almost got flushed in the face, and she realized, wow, that kind of there's something to this dream, and we just gave her a moment. There was this kind of awkward pause, but giving people this moment, and she suddenly perked up, looked at us, and said, "I need to have a talk with my husband."
Wow. Ooh.
And we never saw her in the clinic again.
Huh.
Like, she never came back. And
Wow.
like,
Hmm.
I've got just tons of examples like that. Do I know that this person is better? I know she never came back to a pain clinic.
Mhm.
I do have examples of people that have come back and people that have gone through different journeys and acknowledged an inner journey. I mean, I have another example of somebody I know in a professional capacity that said they were going to come to the pain clinic with back pain. And she said, I knew what you were going to tell me. I knew you were going to tell me to look into inner work. And I went on the Curable app and I started it's just one of the many helpful apps out there. This one particularly talks about pain and inner journeys. And I started doing inner work and I sorted myself out and I no longer need to come to the pain clinic.
Okay.
And it's wonderful. It's like
Uh,
she said, if she kind of rolled her eyes because she said, I knew what you were going to say.
That's
And
fun.
it's wonderful. So if I don't apologize for it, but how are we helping ourselves? And you can go down the nutritional path, and I'll say to people, are you helping yourself nutritionally? Are you eating Cheetos and Doritos, or are
Right.
you eating kale and blueberries? And are you doing your physiotherapy? Are you getting your physical work? Are you dealing with past life stress? How are your childhood? Everything was good. I'll say it almost in 30, just in lighthearted language. How are you helping yourself?
Mm.
so that the system doesn't, you're not relying on us or somebody else to completely cure you. And that we're here to help, but I expect you to take some ownership of your own healing journey.
I love it.
Yeah. How's
Uh-huh.
that for?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I want to, we get into a little bit about psychedelics now, and then we have um, yeah, and let's get into a little bit about what you do with psychedelics and how it's different from Dreamwork, and then we can start to compare the two. So, because I know you also have a ketamine clinic, or have it various times. I know it kind of comes and goes, but you've done ketamine treatments with quite a few patients, and you've done a few yourself, as I understand. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about how that helps. Like, how does that help people who are looking to change their lives, or
Um,
what is it that people are looking for when
sure.
they come to the clinic? Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So I had for about 2.5 years, psychedelic assisted therapy clinic, and one same thing, finding words around this and finding
Yeah.
credible and being credible in the scientific community, which science, I would argue, very necessarily has had to weed out snake oil salesmen throughout the ages. And how do you not claim something? How do you bring science to something to bring it into modern practice or Western medicine? And it's been a struggle. We need Western medicine to get the baby out that's unstuck, put the leg back that's broken.
Yeah.
Um, how do we bring into our current in Canada? We're very much still a universal system that's publicly funded, and so within private medicine, it's difficult to start private medicine. You can do these things on the side, but how do I, within the public system, gain credibility to bring it into the system? And it's been a struggle, and I still don't have funding. So private clinics are popping up throughout Canada to give ketamine and psilocybin and MDMA, and different training centers are coming to train practitioners. But to do ketamine you need an anesthesia license, and it had already been licensed for pain.
Mm-hmm.
So to use, it's got roughly two indications. One is refractory depression. People who've tried, I believe it's at least two antidepressants,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not working, or people with chronic pain. So the licensing was already there to use ketamine, and I do have an anesthesia license as well as family medicine and practice emergency medicine. So I felt I could, with my background in dreams and this knowledge, and in the words of Michael Pollan's books, and just having the right mindset and the right setting, and having done the multiple retreats I've done and or facilitated, co-facilitated, I have a language around ceremonies and how to set this up, and a language around what to do when people have psychotic episodes, and how to treat them, and how to keep people safe.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm in a unique position to bring this forward. So I'd started the ketamine infusion clinic, and it's been shut down for lack of infrastructure and nursing, but we're fighting to get it open again. And one of our neighboring bigger hospitals has a clinic going. And I found, if used for refractory depression, as one of my patients said, or clients, she said, it's like dropping a drop of dish soap into greasy water. When suddenly this clarity comes. I would argue it's an accelerant for you to find part of your inner journey and the language of inner journey, the same journey that I would argue dreams speak. And do I have evidence for that? No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I find this huge crossover. And if you can support people or be with them as they open up to their inner realm, and it can be done. Psychedelics are one of those modalities. They can, with support, I only saw people who would admit a depressive aspect or a mood aspect to this, because sometimes the people with pain, almost to use Gabor Mate's language, they only know pain. Sometimes it's a pain body, and sometimes they can be a harder population to treat, but it can be a bit of a chicken and egg. Doing this can open them up to a bit of an inner journey.
Mm-hmm.
So you can accomplish a bit of the same thing. But it seems to open people up to a language, to feelings. Ketamine is a modality. This language is a little bit awkward, but for example, cocaine is an upper. It will make you feel elated, or methamphetamines. And alcohol or opioids tend to be more dissociative downers or depressants on a biochemical level.
Right.
Not entirely true, but the ketamine and psilocybin, they tend to open you up to all feelings.
Mm.
And people will say they had a quote unquote bad trip. And I don't like to use those words. I'd prefer to say, well, you opened up some difficult emotional material.
Mm-hmm.
It's just difficult emotion. So it opens up your emotions. It opens up your feelings.
Mm.
It takes down your barriers and walls. And what you do with that afterwards, hopefully we can support people. So I insisted everyone have a counselor since we don't have a full, an ideal program in my mind would be people who speak this language, regular counseling follow-up,
Mm-hmm.
people to help the mindset. I did all the intakes to help people with mindset. There's not a lot of people within the medical system that speak this language. It's improving and increasing, and people are a bit shy about it. They don't speak out loud about it or scientifically about it. But how do we bring this into a system where people can have what's best called, I would say, a healing ceremony, open up to feelings, and then process those feelings with a therapist afterwards that can work with the imagery that came up or the feelings that came up. And goodness, we had some really profound responses of people that hadn't left the house for months, that were going to the grocery store. We had 2 people get back to work. I mean, I'm going to say roughly we treated 100 people because we did once a month over 6 months, just lack of resources. It's not the best, but it's the best we could come up with the resources we had. And the profound stories of relationships improving, communication improving, agoraphobia or the unwillingness or the inability to leave a house improving, and how people got their lives back in a very accelerated way, very much speaking the same language of dreams. They would speak the same, they'd get in touch with their feelings, get some epiphanies, and it would open doors. But I would argue they're stuck in patterns a lot of the time that keep them conditioned to live in this old way that they knew how to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So without support and without community support, counseling support, Zoom support, I did a Zoom meeting afterwards, and one of my clients, like once a month, I did a Zoom meeting, and we know, or any counselor would know, or the value of group therapy and getting together as groups and seeing what other people are overcoming can be inspiring for you to break out of your old patterns that aren't serving you. I'm a little bit scattered here.
No, this I am. No, this is good, and it also seems to be happening within 1 or 2 sessions. It sounds like it's a kind of a shortcut, as accelerant, as you say. But I like that you're talking about speaking the same language as dreams, and so there's a lot of parallels here, and we're going to get into your preferences of. And I know I'm just going to go ahead and spill the beans that I know that you're a big fan of Dreamwork, and you've had your own experiences with ketamine too, and I'd love to hear about some of those experiences as well after the break. But we're going to take a short break right now, and come back to this. This is Dr. Darren Jakubec up in British Columbia, and as long as we don't lose you to on call during the break, I think we'll be right back. We are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU. Right, I do want to welcome our far-flung listeners, since we can tell a little bit about who's streaming, or at least where you're streaming from. Don't be worried. We can't find out who you are. A lot of people in the Santa Cruz area, Watsonville, San Jose, Marina, California. And then we also have Seattle, Washington. And welcome to Honolulu, Hawaii, Ashburn, Virginia, and Norfolk, Virginia. So glad to have you on the show. We are a wide-ranging audience. I sure appreciate that. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook by following #The Dream Journal. So welcome back to The Dream Journal. Today's guest is Dr. Darren Jakubec, anesthesiologist and a dream worker up in northern British Columbia. And that's That's that. So good. We have we have sitting right next to me Stephen E. Popp, who is the one of the hosts of the Garden Show, which is on right before the Dream Journal. He's also an avid dreamer. So let's go do a little.
That I am. Good morning, Katherine. Did I hear you say at the top of the show that sexual dreams represent less than 10%?
Yeah, very low percentage of dreams are the sexual dreams.
Oh,
so, yes.
Okay. Well,
may vary from person to person.
Thank you. Yes.
Your mileage may vary.
Your results may vary.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, good morning, doctor, as well. And I wanted to share a dream that I had recently. I do dream a lot, but most of my dreams, they're pretty jumbled and not very clear. This particular dream was extremely intense and clear. I was also, as background, I've recently been diagnosed with an life-altering ailment and dealing with that, the repercussions thereof. In this particular dream, I find myself in a town of some sort. It's not recognizable. It doesn't look very Western either. All the buildings are very low, kind of mud brick construction, painted white. And it's intensely hot, really, really hot. There are trees and there is shade, but even going into the shade of these trees, there's really no relief. And I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable. As I'm kind of going from tree to tree in the shade, moving down the street, I see a larger building on a corner that has a dome. And I can see through a window there is a pinkish, bluish light emanating from that. So I cross the street and I go through the door, and all of a sudden I'm hit with this just wonderful, cooling air, very, very refreshing, very cool. And on a dais in the corner of this room, there is a large statue, and it's a statue of a human with 4 arms and the head of an elephant, which I do recognize as Ganesh, a Hindu god. Ganesha, I'm not Hindu. I do practice meditation, and I'm a practicing Buddhist of the Tibetan flavor. But all of a sudden, as I'm watching this, I'm just really awestruck, and I'm feeling all of this relief, and I really don't want to leave. And as I'm watching, the statue begins to move, and its arms are moving, and it begins to dance. And then I hear a chant. It starts out just as a murmur, and it grows in intensity, but I'm not making it out. I don't know what it is. Well, that was about the totality of the dream. But afterwards, because of this dream, because it was so intense and sticking in my memory, I went and did a little research, and I found this one mantra that is in relation to Ganesh, and it is a mantra, a short mantra, repeated over and over, and to help, ideally to help an individual through their struggles. And I have since used this mantra regularly, and it was just like this gift from my subconscious or something to be able to have this mantra to use. And I do use it now when I do deal with a lot of pain, and it really helps. So,
wow, Steve.
There's my dream.
Thank you. Steve, Darren, were you able to hear the dream? Have any thing you'd like to reflect there?
I was. Thank you for sharing. That's profound and wonderful. Yeah, I'm always speechless when somebody opens up and shares.
I know, it's powerful.
And I always want to hear what's the feeling in your body just sharing that dream? You don't have to answer, but I'm curious. How does it feel just sharing that dream?
Oh, sharing the dream, it felt wonderful. I've been hanging on to it for quite a while, over a month now. And just being able to talk about that and to realize, yeah, in my body, I feel very good sharing that.
And if I, like, right off the bat, somebody who's already learned from kind of like the dream I shared, sometimes you don't do anything. We just honor and be with the person, and and the gravity of what they've shared. But as a medical doctor, being that this is a podcast and we're somewhat passing information and teaching, what I'd sometimes do for people would say, look, sometimes, for cancers, we need chemotherapy or surgery. For other diseases, we need this and that. But how do we mobilize our body's own inner healing capacity? You can use words like endorphins or words like cytokines or words like immunoglobulins, but honestly, I don't know what. But I know to some extent we have our own healing capacity. And tapping into dreams like this, I heard the words no release, and then I heard the words feeling release. One of the ways I would suggest, and I'm quite sure Katherine would agree with me, is like the feeling or bringing a body awareness to the feeling of relief or the feeling of sharing the stream. And even the head demands some sort of explanation, which is all fine, but what truly has some healing capacity, it seems, is the feeling. And what I'll often do when somebody speaks a dream like this is say, you don't have to do it right this second, but close your eyes and just really bring a body awareness to where this release comes and where this feeling comes. Mm. Because it's a profound dream. Whenever spiritual imagery from whatever tradition comes, it's already profound, like already unhumbled. No matter what I say, pales in comparison to the dream. Mm-hmm. But if I can be an assistant, just really honor, like literally arms, throat, head, legs, midsection, like and then just ask yourself, is there something that needs particular healing and all that? And just let this work in a way that defies Western medicine. And yeah, and even I feel awkward saying that because it's already a profound dream. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense to me. And I can, to this moment, the sense of relief coming into the cool air stays with me. And it was a relief of my pain as well. And I found myself dancing with this figure as it was happening. And now as a part of my daily routine, I do walking as a healing therapy. And I'm constantly repeating the mantra as I go. So it really does make a difference, and I'm thrilled about it. And by the way, you mentioned a book, The Body Keeps the Score. Great book. Mm-hmm. I've read it. Yeah, wonderful book.
I'll include that in the episode notes. It is an amazing book.
Yeah.
Steve,
thank you so much.
What an incredible gift. Thank you so much for sharing that with us as well.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. I love it how just the dream itself is healing, and to share the dream deepens that healing. And then start to think of taking doing the research and finding a mantra just to keep it even deeper. Mm-hmm.
Right, and you could go a million other places with that dream, but for goodness sake, if the dreamer has found a modality by which to use that imagery and carry it forward and heal with it. Mm-hmm. It's going to make a difference in their life.
Yeah.
So I'm often humbled and speechless, and my Western medicine brain is speechless. But if we get people doing this sort of thing, they will help their disease processes. Otherwise, individuals will seek out pain medications, and we see them in pain clinics. But a lot of people feel quite lost and look to the outer to find relief from pain, as opposed to the inner, it doesn't have to be exclusively one or the other. We can use both modalities.
Absolutely. I proceed on all fronts, yes. This dream that Steve just shared, it has so many elements of psychedelic imagery that I want to get to. Darren just texted me saying, I think I can make my dream argument in about 2 minutes. And is this a good time to do that, Darren? Can you talk about what it is about dreaming that is so captivating for you compared to even this incredible psychedelic experiences?
Sure. And right off the bat, of course, like the head, which shows up in dreams as a head or graphs or linear lines on the road, they want it to be one or the other. Dreams are psychedelics. And of course, there's no one answer. So the spoiler is there's no one answer.
Yes.
I would argue the thing about it's in our natures to want the quick fix, which sometimes shows up in dreams as an elevator. The elevator in a dream rarely takes you to where you want to go.
True.
You got to take the stairs. You got to take the hard route. And sometimes psychedelics can be seen as, choose awkward wording, to be seen as the God. It's this is the way, this is my one way, and if I stick to this, and the critiques of psychedelics would be very appropriate to that. Misused and without appropriate support, they can be tried to use as a quick fix. And self-inner work takes time, integration takes time. And following, like the dreams keep coming. Psychedelics, you have to either acquire them or create a ceremony at best, I would argue. Take it seriously, take it as inner work to break those patterns. If someone's in a pattern of staying in their house, like one psychedelic trip may or may not break that. Like maybe it'll break that pattern for 3 months, but if you didn't learn why you're staying in the house, the dreams are this continuous support. And sometimes people have used the analogy drinking from a garden hose versus from a fire hose. And the psychedelics, you can get a lot of epiphanies from the fire hose really quick, and it could send you back like a true spiritual awakening sort of experience. But when you come out of that, how do you ground yourself if you're still in a pattern of arguing with your spouse or drinking or staying, like goodness knows the number of ways we have that sabotage our own existence. How do we see these patterns if we don't properly take time to integrate? And I would argue dreams give you repetitive imagery like the Ganesha, like the things that stick with you that are a renewable resource that keep coming to you, that give you integration over time if you honor them. And that imagery in dreams just keeps coming and can give you something to hold on to on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. You can be in the far Arctic or out in the middle of the ocean on a sailboat, and the dreams will keep coming. And you can stay grounded in this world and use dreams as this renewable source of garden hose.
Right. You certainly
as opposed to
garden hose.
Psychedelic.
Love that.
It could just be a bit much. I mean, they can both be incredibly profound.
Right. But for day-to-day hydration, I recommend the garden hose.
Right. And it allows a little more integration time and epiphanies around patterns that we get into. Because it's not like the epiphany didn't come, but we're often stuck in patterns, and they help us survive the traumas of our past, and they help us survive in this crazy world. And sometimes those patterns take over, and without integration time, sometimes the patterns take over and put you back where you were.
Okay, that's well said. Beautifully said. Like, I want to do a little sound clip of that. That's beautifully said. Let's turn to Elizabeth now, who is on the line, hopefully still there. Elizabeth, hi.
Hi, yeah, I'm still here.
Wonderful. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bellingham, Washington.
Oh, my friend.
From the Writers Group.
From the Writers Group. Oh, wonderful. Nice to hear from you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been listening along, and I know that you went to the Dreamers Conference, and I wanted to get back to you. And in the meantime, I've had a pretty life-changing dream, in a sense, that I'd love to share. I want to say that I've very much have enjoyed the context of this broadcast.
Thank you.
And I'd like to feel the experience of meeting with the doctor here. Very much of what has been said is something that I live with. I diagnosed 33 years ago with fibromyalgia, and recently have had one of those weird inner downturns where I lost a bunch of weight and I can hardly eat any foods. And I'm working with a traditional Chinese medicine herbalist, and I'm pretty stable right now, building my bones and my energy field back. What I find is so interesting when I'm not feeling well, or if I've eaten something that I'm having a response to, I do not dream.
That's interesting.
Well, and then when I do dream, or when I remember, my dream, I'm actually aware that I'm feeling better. It's like I sleep deeper when I take the best care of myself, which is an incredible struggle. There's so many food groups that I cannot eat. So I'm in a real interesting place, and I have a lot of support. But I would just love to share this dream, just hear a little bit from the doctor. And So, I mean, this relationship that's pretty stressful, and I'm stable, but this person is in crisis, and we've been together about 6 years. And I know that it was a destiny type of experience meeting him. And I'm not really, I'm a Zen practitioner. I want to be non-judgmental, and I want to experience my own mirroring of what is happening instead of, making him um, the cause of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm taking responsibility for my own demon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm feeding my own demon here. But in this dream, we are together, and we are in a car, and I am driving the car, and we are careening down a treacherous ravine. And it's like almost straight down. And so it's very visceral, and I feel the dream. He's not visible to me, but his energy is with me. And so as we continue down, in front of us, the view goes static, as if on a television screen where it's all kind of gray with a few lines on it. So we cannot see where we're going. And terrified, we actually land safely amidst these boulders and this watery underground terrain, a cave-like setting. A cave with light. Very different than what I would expect, since I can see everything around. And so this sort of odd man enters and leaves, walking his dog over the rocks. So that was just sort of a kind of a shadowy element to the dream. It didn't have a consequence, really. So Doug and I walk over to a deep ledge, which is to the left, and we look down, and there we are in a miniature-sized car, which is plopped into the mud and turned over so we can see our faces in it. Very strange. And I want to take the car back to the manufacturer and complain.
So you're seeing you and your partner down below in the car, like the car has crashed, and you're seeing yourself from outside.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And so Doug
Elizabeth.
picks up mini car and throws it, and I cannot locate it. So that's just what happens. Here.
Thank you. That's beautiful dream.
But we sit down on a rock wall overlooking a waterfall pool where we drink from.
Okay.
And there are stalactite formations of crystal. And a voice says, "You are addicted to adrenaline."
Oh, okay.
And Doug wants to find a way out of this cave. And I wake up, actually, with a lot of aches and pains. And however, this dream of careening down into this well-lit cave with this beautiful pool is still with me, as if shimmering in my mind.
Well, let's turn to Darren here. We have just a minute or two left in the show, and if you want to get a little bit of reflection from Darren, we only have a short time, but
All right.
But thank you. This dream. This is amazing images. I'm picturing it in my mind. You are addicted to adrenaline.
I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm very curious what the doctor has to say.
Oh, once again, I'm always speechless when somebody. Oh, sorry, what's your first name again?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing. And just, I find the courage to share a dream like this, either on a radio show or with somebody else, is healing in its own right. And if I could encourage you, you can share or not share. But just even after just sharing this dream, can you bring a body awareness to how it feels just sharing this dream? So often, I'm just going to talk, and while I'm talking, I'd encourage you to do that. Often just the sharing of the dream opens up doors and opens up some, what I would awkwardly call healing in some way within your body. And there's a lot of really positive imagery here. Generally, to go into ourselves is absolutely terrifying. Generally, you want to find the cave as a metaphor. Generally, at the deeper part of yourself. If you're driving, generally, you're the one driving the situation. Your autonomy, cars, there's a million ways of looking at this, but generally, a car is autonomy. The fact that you're taking yourself to a deeper place and you're taking your partner to a deeper place. And it's always terrifying. Like, life is terrifying.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that fear and keep going? And it shows that you truly are on a healing path, I would argue. It doesn't mean it's not terrifying.
Right. So I have to interrupt here. I know that this is beautiful work, and I want to say, Elizabeth, you are welcome. And it just occurred to me that any caller who calls in is always welcome to a free session with me after calling, because I know the radio show is such a short moment that we just get to touch into the feelings of these moments. And so, Elizabeth, look, why don't you call me, send me an email, and we'll set something up so we can talk some more about this and any other dreams that you want to bring in too.
Oh, that sounds so wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice birthday gift.
Oh.
Thank you, Doctor.
Absolutely. Dr. Jakubec. This is Dr. Darren Jakubec. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Elizabeth. And Darren, so good to have you on the show, Dr. Jakubec. And just contact me if you want to get in touch with the doctor, and I will put you guys in touch. So thanks so much for being on the show, Jake, and we'll be in touch.
Beautiful. Thank you, Katherine. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Wonderful. Bye now.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Katherine Bell. Find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at Katherine@ksqd.org. Katherine is spelled Katherine. You can follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag the Dream Journal on Facebook and Instagram to find out about upcoming shows. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, Tony Rossimano, and the intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
There's a time in our life all the husbands and wives, all the boys and the girls, and everyone in the world knows that so much is wrong, but much more is right. We see in the darkness by shining a light.